And I have to say also, that is one beautiful airplane. Congratulations to the men and women here who have built it.
Hello, everyone. In a shocking move, Boeing, the aviation giant of the U.S., is facing a major challenge as the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, has proposed a fine of up to $3.1 million due to safety violations. But what's even more concerning is that, with Boeing's strategic shift, key production projects are gradually moving out of the U.S., and Canada has taken the lead. This not only affects the U.S. manufacturing industry, but could also lead to thousands of workers losing their jobs overnight. So, what has caused Boeing to leave the U.S.? And what does the future hold for the commercial aircraft manufacturing industry when the talented workforce in the U.S. is no longer playing a central role in the production process? If you agree with the impacts and are concerned about the future of the U.S. manufacturing industry, leave a 1 in the comments. If you disagree, leave a 0. Don't forget to like, share this video, and subscribe to the channel to stay updated with future videos. To get the answers, let's dive deeper into this story. The U.S. has long been known as an industrial powerhouse, with its manufacturing and production sectors playing a crucial role in the economy. However, this foundation is being increasingly challenged as major companies, particularly Boeing, face a range of issues impacting the long-term stability and growth of the industry. Boeing, one of the largest names in the aviation industry, is currently facing an unprecedented situation in its history: a potential fine of up to $3.1 million from the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, due to safety violations. This is not the first time Boeing has faced accusations of safety violations. After the 737 MAX aircraft accidents in 2018, the company endured significant reputational and financial losses. But this incident holds particular significance because it not only affects Boeing's image, but also impacts the aerospace industry in the U.S. as a whole. When a major company like Boeing faces serious safety-related issues, it affects not just regulatory bodies, but also the public and industry partners. However, beyond the legal and regulatory challenges, what is even more concerning is Boeing's strategic direction in recent years. While international competitors like Airbus and Chinese manufacturers continue to expand their markets, Boeing is struggling to maintain and grow its supply chain in the U.S. Boeing's key manufacturing facilities are gradually shifting outside of U.S. borders, particularly to countries like Canada, where they can leverage cheaper labor and more favorable tax policies. A key factor driving this change is the shift in investment and job flows to other countries. Boeing's U.S. factories are gradually downsizing, and important production stages are moving to Canada. While Boeing still maintains some manufacturing facilities in the U.S., this shift is causing waves of concern among workers and local economies, where the company has been a key provider of jobs. Moving production facilities to Canada not only reduces jobs in the U.S., but also weakens the production capacity of factories within the U.S. This affects not only the workers, but also local communities where Boeing has been a pillar of the economy. When large companies move operations across borders, it leads to losses not just in jobs, but also in income and development opportunities for the community. Boeing's strategic shift presents a difficult challenge for the U.S. economy. While Boeing still maintains a strong position in the global market, this shift raises questions about the U.S.'s ability to retain its position in the manufacturing sector. The U.S. was once the leading center for aircraft production in the world, but now other countries are gradually taking over that role. The clear lesson is that the U.S. needs to restructure its industrial development strategy to maintain its competitive edge in an increasingly globalized market. Policies that support domestic industries, reinvestment in manufacturing infrastructure, and technological innovation will be key factors in ensuring the sustainable development of the U.S. manufacturing sector. Focusing on advanced technology, improving labor productivity, and investing in manufacturing startups will be important steps in creating positive change. The future of the U.S. manufacturing industry depends on many factors, from the strategic decisions of major companies like Boeing to government policies. However, one thing is clear: the U.S. must recognize that maintaining its position in this industry cannot solely rely on the growth of a few large companies. Instead, A comprehensive and overarching strategy is needed to develop the workforce, improve infrastructure, and invest in new technologies. When the U.S. manufacturing industry faces difficulties, it is a sign that it is time to rethink development strategies, creating new opportunities for future generations of workers and companies. As Boeing faces difficulties and shifts in its development strategy in the U.S., one of the biggest beneficiaries has been Canada. The provinces of Quebec and Ontario, which are home to many large industrial facilities, are rapidly becoming frontrunners in the aviation and manufacturing industries. These changes are not only impacting Canada's economy in the short term, but are also promising long-term sustainable growth, creating more opportunities for businesses and workers in the industry. Quebec and Ontario, two of Canada's largest provinces, are currently leading the way in winning contracts for aircraft assembly, maintenance, and aerospace electronics. These achievements are not only the result of investments in technology and infrastructure, but also serve as proof of the creativity and capability of Canada's workforce in tackling challenges in the aviation industry. Amid difficulties in the U.S. aviation market, these provinces have seized the opportunity and continuously developed large-scale projects. Quebec, with strong support from both the government and major companies, has won several significant contracts in aircraft assembly and aerospace electronics maintenance. This has not only boosted the region's economy, but also created thousands of new jobs, helping to improve employment and income levels in local communities. Ontario, with its skilled workforce and advanced infrastructure, is also thriving. Aerospace companies in Ontario are expanding production and collaborating with international partners to develop aerospace electronic solutions, increasing Canada's standing in this global industry. The robust growth of the aviation industry here is not only providing opportunities for engineers and workers, but also strengthening Canada's competitive edge in the global market. What is especially important in this transition is that the changes in Canada are not temporary. They are long-term. Investments in technology and infrastructure in Quebec and Ontario are laying a solid foundation for the sustainable growth of the aviation industry in the future. As major companies like Boeing and competitors in the aviation industry shift their manufacturing and research projects to Canada, they are not just seeking temporary solutions, but are building a sustainable infrastructure. This is creating a stable value chain for the aviation industry, enabling Canada to continue growing, not only in manufacturing but also in related fields like research and technology development. The investment in these long-term projects shows that companies are not just viewing Canada as a temporary option in the face of difficulties, but as a market with long-term potential. This is a key factor in helping Canada solidify its position in the global aviation industry and create sustainable job opportunities. One of the most prominent symbols of this transition is the expansion of infrastructure in Winnipeg, a major city in Canada that is now a hub for aircraft manufacturing and maintenance activities. Winnipeg has been attracting significant investments in advanced facilities, particularly in the development of large composite freezers, which serve the needs of storing and transporting aircraft components. The investment in infrastructure in Winnipeg is a long-term strategy aimed at ensuring that Canada can meet the growing demand in the aviation industry. These giant composite freezers not only help store aircraft components safely, but also create opportunities for technological development while establishing a stable and reliable supply chain for companies in the industry. The most important thing this transition brings to Canada is the sustainable investment in infrastructure and technology. Companies are not only seeing Canada as a potential market, but also as a strategic destination for long-term projects. The development of manufacturing, maintenance, and research facilities in Quebec, Ontario, and Winnipeg proves that Canada is becoming a key player in the global aviation industry. Investing in infrastructure like composite freezers and research centers will help Canada maintain and grow its position in the aviation industry. The combination of a highly skilled workforce, advanced technology, and government support policies has helped Canada become a formidable competitor in this industry. As major aviation companies like Boeing decide to move contracts and manufacturing facilities outside of the U.S., particularly to Canada, the negative impacts are not just limited to revenue and production numbers, but also spread to the communities, towns, and supporting industries that have long depended on the aviation sector. Towns that have built their economies around aviation are now facing the gradual collapse of an economic system deeply embedded in the lives of their people. These changes not only harm the local economies, but also affect industries that rely on aviation. Towns like Everett, Kansas, and Missouri, once known as aerospace manufacturing hubs, are now experiencing severe challenges. These regions once prided themselves on being the strongholds of the aviation industry, with factories and production facilities providing jobs for thousands. However, as aircraft production contracts and research and maintenance projects move to Canada, these towns are witnessing a dramatic decline in their economies. Everett, home to Boeing's largest U.S. factory, has seen thousands of workers leave the company, triggering a domino effect that has caused a downturn in supporting industries such as housing, food services, and healthcare. Small businesses and local shops that once thrived on the presence of large aviation companies are now struggling to survive in an environment with fewer jobs and unstable revenue streams. Similarly, in Kansas and Missouri, these towns are also facing production cutbacks. Factories that produced aircraft parts are experiencing a drop in orders and contracts, causing thousands of workers to lose their jobs. These changes are difficult, not only for the workers, but also for the families who have depended on these jobs for many years. Beyond the companies directly involved in aircraft manufacturing, small businesses in towns like local restaurants, clinics, auto repair shops, and retail stores are also heavily impacted. These localities have thrived on the existence of the aviation industry. Every time a new contract was signed or a large order completed, small businesses in the surrounding areas had the opportunity to grow and attract customers. However, with Boeing's contracts and those of its partners shifting to Canada, restaurants and clinics near U.S. production facilities are now seeing their businesses go silent. The laid-off workers no longer have the income to spend, and small businesses no longer have their primary customers, the aviation industry workers. This downturn is causing a wave of unemployment, not only in manufacturing but also in community-serving sectors. Furthermore, industries like transportation, tourism, and services related to the aviation sector are also struggling as their customers, including workers and their families, no longer have the resources to spend on these services. The loss of jobs in aviation doesn't just affect workers directly involved in aircraft production. It has wide-reaching consequences for other industries. When a significant portion of the population loses their jobs, basic needs like healthcare, education, and social services are also impacted. Services such as clinics, schools, consulting firms, and social services are facing a drop in clientele because people can no longer afford to pay for these services. This situation isn't limited to the service sectors. It also affects public infrastructure, where local governments are forced to adjust budgets to deal with declining tax revenue. This could lead to cuts in public services, making life even harder for the residents of these areas. The consequences go beyond just the aviation industry. The decline in production and job demand in aviation is also affecting other industries, especially those like metallurgy and chemicals, which have close ties to aviation. Metallurgical plants supply materials for aircraft components, and a decline in the aviation industry's production leads to fewer orders for these factories. As manufacturers and suppliers of aircraft components reduce production, metallurgical plants no longer have enough orders to maintain their output. This results in job cuts in the metallurgical sector, further impacting the economy and related industries. Chemical plants are facing similar issues, as the demand for their products in the aviation industry has diminished. If you agree with these far-reaching impacts and are concerned about the future of communities dependent on the aerospace industry, leave a 1 in the comments. If you disagree, leave a 0. Don't forget to like, share this video, and subscribe to the channel to support us. Stay tuned for the next developments in this ongoing story. With the shift of the aerospace industry from the US to Canada, the country is steadily establishing itself as an attractive destination for manufacturing, assembly, maintenance, and research projects in the aerospace sector. Canada's rapid development in this industry is not only a response to the global increase in demand, but also a result of strong government support and the stable environment the country provides. These factors have helped Canada become a formidable competitor in the global aerospace industry, especially as major U.S. companies begin moving key production projects to Canada. Canada has emerged not only as a manufacturer of aircraft components and aerospace products, but also as a desirable destination for companies seeking a stable and favorable business environment. Provinces like Quebec and Ontario have become important hubs in the aerospace industry, attracting international companies and investors from all over the world. This is particularly noteworthy as large U.S. aerospace companies begin seeking opportunities in Canada. Favorable tax policies, along with collaborative opportunities in research and development, have made Canada a hub for not only production projects, but also advanced technology research, thus creating numerous job opportunities for the Canadian workforce. The shift of projects from the U.S. to Canada has sparked a wave of investment, with many aerospace companies expanding their facilities in strategic regions across Canada. One key factor in Canada's rise as a competitive destination in the aerospace industry is strong government support. The Canadian government has created a business-friendly environment for the aerospace sector through sustainable policies and investments in research and development. Aerospace projects in Canada benefit from financial support through government incentive programs, helping to reduce production costs and increase the competitiveness of Canadian-made products. Additionally, Canada's policies attract international companies through financial support and tax incentives, which help businesses save costs in their investment and expansion processes. This support not only helps the Canadian aerospace industry grow, but also increases the presence of foreign companies, fostering growth in auxiliary sectors like services, research, and workforce training. Another key factor contributing to the development of Canada's aerospace industry is international defense contracts. Large defense contracts have become a major driving force in the growth of the aerospace industry in Canada. Participation in international projects, particularly defense contracts, has helped Canada not only solidify its position in this industry, but also open up collaboration opportunities with major powers like the US, NATO, and other international partners. These defense contracts not only enhance the production capacity of Canadian companies, but also drive the development of advanced technologies, improving the competitiveness of Canadian aerospace companies in the global market. These contracts also help generate jobs and boost investment in high-tech infrastructure, while encouraging research and the development of advanced aerospace technologies. One of the major reasons Canada has emerged as a strong competitor is the stable environment and reliable economic policies the country maintains. Unlike the political and economic instability that may arise in the US, Canada stands out for its long-term stability. This creates confidence for companies, allowing them to invest securely in the Canadian market. Canada's stable political environment, along with sustainable economic policies, has made the country an attractive destination for companies from other nations. International investors, particularly in the aerospace sector, can fully trust the stability of the legal system and the business environment in Canada, which is crucial in an industry that demands longevity and sustainability like aerospace. Canada is not only attracting investment in current projects, but also focusing on long-term infrastructure investments. Policies encouraging investment in clean energy projects, improving infrastructure, and developing advanced technologies have created a favorable environment for companies in the aerospace sector. The shift of aircraft and component manufacturing to Canada is not just a short-term opportunity, but a long-term investment in infrastructure. The incentives for clean energy projects, along with a stable legal environment, have made Canada an attractive destination for aerospace companies seeking sustainable long-term growth. These projects not only help minimize environmental impacts, but also create sustainable growth opportunities for industries and communities alike. The aerospace industry is entering a period of significant transformation, as economic policies and development strategies between the US and Canada are affecting major companies in the sector. While the US, a long-standing foundation of the aerospace industry, is facing major challenges related to tariffs and instability in the business environment, Canada is emerging as an attractive destination, drawing in large companies and international investors. However, this shift is not a simple story, and the future of North America's aerospace industry will depend on the strategic decisions made today. In recent years, the US aerospace industry has faced major changes in policy, particularly regarding tariffs and regulations. Decisions about taxes and trade policies by the US government have created uncertainty in the business environment, forcing many companies in the sector to make difficult choices. Measures to protect domestic industries, raise taxes, and implement tough trade policies have caused US companies to change the way they operate and cope with these barriers. This stands in stark contrast to the situation in Canada, where the business environment is stable and the government has implemented strong investment incentives. The Canadian government has not only provided attractive tax breaks, but also supported aerospace companies with grants and long-term contracts, especially in the defense sector and high-tech research. Furthermore, Canada maintains a more reliable political system, providing aerospace companies with confidence when investing in long-term projects. The political and economic instability in the U.S. has raised concerns in the aerospace industry. Sudden changes in tariffs and trade regulations can create significant risks for companies, making it difficult for them to maintain stability in production and research. The lack of a clear, long-term policy makes it challenging for U.S. aerospace companies to plan and forecast production costs. This also impacts their competitiveness in the global market. Moreover, the instability in U.S. policies has led international investors to reassess their ability to invest in the U.S., as they cannot be sure about long-term opportunities in the country. This increases pressure on U.S. companies, forcing them to make difficult decisions about whether to continue investing in and maintaining their production facilities in the U.S., or seek opportunities in other countries, like Canada, where the business environment is more stable. U.S. aerospace companies now face a tough choice. Should they continue to invest in U.S. manufacturing facilities, which are struggling with instability in tax and trade policies, or should they move key projects to Canada, where the policies and business environment are more stable? These decisions not only impact short-term profits, but also the sustainable growth of companies in the industry. However, Canada is emerging as a reliable alternative for major U.S. aerospace companies. Companies like Boeing and its industry partners are considering moving their manufacturing, research, and maintenance facilities to Canada to take advantage of the stable legal environment and tax incentives. Canada's strong government support, along with its aerospace industry development policies, presents a golden opportunity for companies seeking long-term growth. The shift in strategy from the U.S. and the strong growth of Canada is creating a competitive race between the two countries in the aerospace industry. International investors are reassessing their investments in the U.S. and considering moving to other markets, particularly Canada. With a stable business environment, attractive tax policies, and strong government support, Canada is becoming an appealing choice for aerospace companies. Other countries are also watching this shift and seeking to capitalize on the opportunity to develop their own aerospace industries. Investment in new infrastructure, support for research and development of new technologies, and sustainable development policies will help these countries compete with Canada and the U.S. in the aerospace industry. The future of North America's aerospace industry depends on the strategic decisions both the U.S. and Canada make now. While Canada currently holds clear advantages in attracting investment and growing its aerospace industry, whether the country can maintain this advantage in the long term will depend on its ability to continue providing a stable and investment-friendly environment in the years ahead. The shift from the U.S. to Canada in the aerospace industry could serve as a warning to the U.S., signaling that without reforms in policy and the business environment, it could lose its leadership position in this vital industry. However, with the right strategic decisions, the U.S. can regain its edge. Both countries will face challenges in developing the aerospace industry, and only time will tell whether Canada can maintain this advantage. The shift of contracts and jobs from the U.S. to Canada in the aerospace industry could mark the beginning of a profound transformation in this sector across North America. The move of major companies like Boeing, which is transferring production, research, and maintenance projects to Canada, is not just a temporary change, but a sign of a long-term strategic shift in the industry. Factors such as political instability and changing policies in the U.S. have forced companies to seek a more stable environment, and Canada has emerged as the ideal destination in this context. With its stable business environment, favorable tax policies, and strong government support, Canada is likely to continue attracting significant investments into the aerospace sector in the coming years. This will help Canada not only maintain its position in the industry, but also solidify the sustainable growth of this crucial sector. Meanwhile, the U.S. will face significant challenges if it does not undertake critical reforms in its policies and development strategies. If issues regarding tariffs, trade policies, and political instability persist, the U.S. aerospace industry could lose its leading position in North America. Therefore, the future of this industry will depend on whether the U.S. can restructure and create a stable and attractive business environment. With this major shift in the aerospace industry, the question now is, can the U.S. regain its competitive edge? Or will Canada continue to lead the way in this industry? Share your thoughts on this transition and the potential impacts it may have on the global aerospace industry. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our upcoming videos, featuring exciting developments and analyses on the aerospace industry and other hot topics.